Welcome. You're watching Financial Planner, and today we're going to talk to you all about why women should be part of the investment process and why women make such great investment managers. To talk to us about that, we have with us Feroz Aziz of Anand Rathi. Feroz, I should have actually I had a lady sitting opposite me to discuss this show, but nevertheless, we'll test how well you know women. But to begin with, women do a great job of running the household, managing money at home. But very rarely do we come across women who are actively involved in financial planning or investing, their surplus income for the family. Tell me, why do you think women make good investment managers, firstly? What are the key attributes that women have that men probably lack on, which makes them better at this job?
Yes, I think I'm lesser qualified to comment, but with my experience of women, let me tell you that I honestly feel that women can be better money managers or wealth managers or finances, any kind of management. Women have more capability than men in management. That's because now it comes to specific financial management, I think they have these four attributes which give them a natural edge. One is that they have this tendency to save more. Okay, at least a large portion of the women have a tendency to save. That I think is the primary attribute of an investor. And an investor always invests before he spends or she spends. So I think saving is an attribute more found in women than men. Second, they are long-term thinkers. They don't want action every day. They trade lesser, they buy and hold, they're more patient.
You might be a little judgmental on that. Let's not, go on then anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think now this is a relative kind of a measure. Men require something to keep them occupied. Women generally are more patient people. And that I think is the most important attribute when it comes to investing. You can't be looking at entertaining yourself. Because if you're making money, you're definitely getting bored. For sure. That's the second attribute. The third attribute, which I think is again very important, is the tendency to do more homework. Because of their lower confidence, again relatively to their men counterparts, they have lower confidence. That's exactly why they go into the depth of it and they do more homework and research before they take steps. That's the third attribute. The fourth attribute is women are by nature lesser risk takers. So they are very, very careful and not flamboyant with their money, and they don't take undue risks. I think these four very important attributes, okay, they might look like 4 points, but these are the inherent attributes which make a person a very good investor. So I think it will be a very ironical situation to not put this amazing resource to put good use, because the society has clearly defined roles for men and women, and it's more prominent that men take this up and then women. I think that should change largely in our society, if not any other.
Feroz, to play devil's advocate here, women usually are very risk averse as well, so they wouldn't be willing to take on risk or undue risk or unwanted risk in that regard. Could that play to their advantage, or could that play against them?
See, I think definitely it has two sides of the coin. So when you are risk averse, if you're combined with another attribute which is research, and if they are more mathematical, then automatically they will take risks which are good for them. They need some degree of understanding and hand-holding for sure to make sure that they're taking risks which are worth taking and there is commensurate return for the risk they're taking. So I think it can have it can have an advantage or a disadvantage depending on how you couple it with your research capabilities and some degree of understanding and hand-holding, which they currently lack. If that is addressed, then I think that will be an advantageous point than a disadvantage.
So culturally, historically, women have done a great job of running the household balance sheet or managing the amount of money that they, if you're a housewife, of course, you handed over some money which you run your household by. So be it paying your expenses, be it buying luxurious items for your children, they've always managed to do a good job with that. But that, of course, is very micro in nature. How do you sort of go from there to becoming an investment manager for your family, if nothing else?
I think you rightly put it. I think management on one side, which is the expense management and the financial management when it comes to the balance sheet on the expense side, is very well managed by women. Now that is clear, how do they actually step into the more macro thing from a family perspective is before you can contribute to the finances of the family, you will have to do some degree of homework and contribute to it meaningfully, so that then you are more involved in it, and the spouse in a case, for example, will involve you more if you've added value. So how does one take up this? I think women, actually there's a research which says women spend more time in front of the television than men do. If that's the case, spare 50 hours of your life to learn what is given in these business channels or a personal finance show. That is the most profitable way, because there's unbiased advice reaching you through a medium which you are anyways attached yourself to while away sometimes. So it's more profitable to have some degree of business channel or a personal finance show, in my opinion. Point two is to make it a mandatory thing to sit in any discussion which your spouse actually has with a wealth manager. I think at a point in time, you will be in the realm of affairs. If there is an eventuality in the family, you become the driver of the finances. So preparing yourself well in advance, 5, 10, 15 years in advance, that can be taken care by making sure that if your spouse is sitting with his or her his wealth manager, she has to be involved in that conversation. 1, 2, 5, 20 meetings, 100 meetings. There is going to be enough curiosity to learn.
I'm glad you bring that up, because at the end of the day, we don't plan for an eventuality. And this is so important because a lot of women are not aware of what their husband's investments are or what the family investments are, largely speaking. You know, and God forbid if there is an unforeseen circumstance that plays out, and that doesn't necessarily have to be death, if there's a divorce, or if there, because you're of course financially dependent on your husband as well. How important is having a cue on what's going on? What's the importance of that in terms of financials?
Any eventuality in life, be it a divorce or a demise or anything which is going to be unforeseen and detrimental, is going to have an emotional impact. Emotional impacts combined with financial impacts are a very, very bad combination. So making sure when this emotional thing, which is not too much in your control, is hitting you, you are better prepared on the financial side, because that's something which is a controlled variable. So I think it's a very important point you brought up. So preparing for eventuality is more important. If you have dependency on the finances and the salaries or the financial gain which your spouse is having, it's even more important that you plan it, know the assets which he has, and take it up and learn it before there is an eventuality.